Welcome back to Every Way Woman. Now, we are a nation of litigation, but our next guest, Kym Adams, has a nonprofit organization helping folks choose mediation over court to settle their disputes. Thanks for being here, Kym.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So tell us, what is mediation?
Mediation is a form of alternative dispute resolution where the parties agree to mediation. It's all voluntary. And once they pick a mediator, then the mediator, they all come in different makes, models, and styles. And some mediators will start when they have a session scheduled to help to resolve the dispute. They'll start a session. Some of them start in joint, where they have the parties with the mediator. They call them joint session. We're in the same room.
Now, is the mediator like a judge in a typical courtroom?
No, the mediator is a non-biased neutral. So to neutral, they're trained mediators who are basically there to help the parties negotiate their own settlement agreement. So they're not there to make a decision or a award or a judgment. They're there to help the parties reach an agreement together.
Oh, it seems like it's a lot more personal that way.
It is,
and it's confidential. No one ever knows what goes on in that room.
Exactly, yes.
And it's much more affordable than court is.
Oh,
absolutely.
expensive to get to court. Now, what kinds of cases do you do? Do you do, is it like more neighbor fence disputes? Is it divorce? What do you have?
We do any kind of dispute that's out there. Community, neighbor, civil, car accidents.
Lemon law?
Lemon law, there you go. Yeah, divorce, small claims. And one good thing about when they're working together to help make a resolution, their own agreement, the chances that the party's going to actually get paid is a lot higher.
Absolutely.
Especially like in small claims court. If someone gets an award in small claims court and the judge says, okay, you're awarded $7,000, it's just a piece of paper. They're just chasing the piece of paper. Where they're with the other side and they can agree and negotiate, okay, then this is what I do owe, the chances are they're going to get paid.
Now, if you do mediation and you don't like the results of your mediation, can you go to court, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you must have a lot of divorce cases where you're like, I can't do this. I can't help you here.
Oh
she has a very good rate of settling.
Yeah, we do. We have a high rate of settling. However, the mediation is considered non-binding. So it's non-binding until the parties actually reach an agreement. Once they reach an agreement, then that becomes a binding, enforceable agreement that could be used if you had to enforce it. For instance, if they didn't, if they breached it, then you could file a motion, and then that could be enforced in the court of law.
So what makes it binding? You just sign it?
Exactly.
And you
Signing
are the witness?
It's like a contract.
It's a contract, exactly.
Okay.
Once you sign it, it becomes binding. And everything, like Charlotte was saying, everything that's said in mediation is confidential. So let's say that the mediation doesn't settle, so there's nothing signed, so it's a non-binding, and they end up going away and they go to trial, for instance. They can't say, well, in mediation, he said or she said, you can't bring up anything.
Now, is the process quicker
exactly.
in mediation than it is in trial? Because I know some of these trials drag on and on.
Yes, they do. It is a lot quicker, yeah. In most cases, like the civil cases, they can usually get settled like in half-day mediation. But in divorce cases, usually have 2 or 3 sessions because you're talking children, property, parenting.
How long's the session?
Most sessions average about 2 to 4 hours.
Do you find you almost have to be a therapist versus a mediator for a lot of these cases?
Definitely therapy.
You definitely have to
there's
really
no dispute, there's nothing to settle, you just need to calm down and you need to calm down and have some chocolate cake.
Exactly, yeah, and that's usually the divorce ones, the emotions, a lot of emotion. Just got to let them, and that's one thing about the mediation is they have a voice. So you've got to let them talk and get it out. And I think of it because when I love horses and I ride horses, and if you ever rode a horse, one of those times a horse is going to get tired. You're going to get on a hot horse, it's going to be crazy and da-da-da-da, but then the horse is going to calm down. So I look at it that way. I just let them go and go and go and go, and I know they're just going to calm down, the emotions.
So do they speak for themselves, or are there lawyers involved in this?
It depends. It could go both ways. If they're represented, their attorneys would be at the mediation as well. And in those cases, the attorneys are usually the ones that are doing more of the directing everything. But if you don't have an attorney, then you're there, you're speaking on, just telling your story. This is what I want.
So how does it work? Do they go in separate rooms?
Yes, most mediators will split the parties into separate rooms. They call it caucus. And so then what the mediator does, and he'll go in and talk to one party in one room, and then depending on what's said in there, then the mediator sometimes will have to do some reframing, we call it, and then the mediator will go into the other room and say, okay, well, this is what's going on in the case, and based on what they're saying, so they'll kind of reframe and go that direction.
So is mediation only for cases where there's a property settlement going to be, or can they be for criminals?
Anything.
Oh, so a criminal case?
Not a criminal case.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much. We do victim offender, where we're working on helping with the disputes, the youth that have caused some offenses, working with the district attorney's office and getting the victim and the offender together.
And what's your organization called?
Our organization is Centers for Effective Dispute Resolution.
And it's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit.
So it's very affordable for people.
Yes, very affordable. We're formerly IVJC, which is Inland Valley's Justice Center, but we're in the process of changing our name, and it is very affordable.
How did you get involved with mediation?
Oh my goodness, that's a good story. I basically got involved, I became a legal document assistant, being divorced young with children, seeing how the system worked, very unfair, having an attorney, spending lots of money, then finally ended up found a paralegal to help me. And then my husband and I came to our senses and we actually reached an agreement ourselves, and I never realized that that was actually mediation.
Oh, we could actually get along.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Adults
hate each
here.
other.
Yeah, being adults and civil, especially when you're, you know, a divorcing couple, you have to set an example for your children.
Yes.
So actually being in the system, and then I became a legal document assistant. I opened up my own business 15 years ago, and I've been working with parties for the last 15 years, just from probates to divorce to name changes, just do their whole legal paperwork without an attorney if they can't afford one. And so that, and then realizing that, wow, I'm actually mediating, helping these divorcing couples. So in 2008, when I realized that I was actually mediating, I thought, wow, maybe I should get a certificate for this, and that way I can keep it separate. So now I have my LDA business, and then my mediation, and I also work for in Cedars, and run a whole panel of attorney mediators, and that people.
What do you enjoy about it?
It's just helping people. It's just a service business, and just knowing that that person, when they walk in that room or our office, and you know what they're feeling, they're confused, and when they walk out, to see a smile on their face. And a lot of times my clients will leave with a hug. I hug everybody. I think that's so important. Charlotte knows that. Yeah. Everybody leaves. I am a hugger. And just seeing, you know, and just seeing the smiles on their face when they leave, you know, and that's why I do it.
And then the client, they feel like a person instead of just being a number, just being a
right.
case number.
Exactly.
And the stress is just gone, and they no longer have to
Exactly.
deal with the legal issue. It's all resolved.
Have you ever had
Exactly.
people though when they first walk in where you're like, oh no, this isn't going to go anywhere, and then you just had something where you were able to, you know, help bring them together? Or do you have a lot of that?
Oh yeah, you just work that mediation magic, definitely. Yeah.
Creativity too, to come up with things, I'm sure, for you.
You do, yeah. You have to be really creative, and as a mediator, you should never ever give up on your parties. I am the last person to give up. I've had situations where clients, they've given up on themselves, especially husbands. Oh, fine, we're just going back to court, you know. And I'll usually tell them, okay, is that really where you want to be? Why don't you go find the family law session court and just go sit in it? And that's probably going to be the judge where you're going to be through, you know, if your case is there. But this time you're not going to be a number. You're just going to be observing. And you come back in about a week and you tell me if that's really where you want to be. And if that's where you want to be, then I'll say this mediation can't go any further. And that, I've never had one person come back and say that's where I want to be.
Kym Adams, thank you so much.
You're
This
welcome.
is exactly where we wanted you to be. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for your service too. For
You can
helping.
find us on everywaywoman.com, and you can also see us on our YouTube channel. Thank you for being here with Every Way Woman.